This is a special presentation by Railfan Tube of Brian Banta's Caboose Excursion on the Whitewater Valley Railroad. Today is March 17th, 2013. The train is assembled and ready to back its way into downtown Connersville, Indiana to Whitewater Valley's Grand Central Station. Today's chartered excursion is a little different from last year's. During photo run-bys, the majority of the cabooses will be cut off the train, leaving only the New York Central transfer caboose, a coach, and 2 vintage freight cars. The power for this trip will be Whitewater Valley's Alco S1 switcher number 9339. Built in 1948 and purchased by Procter & Gamble, this little 660 horsepower switcher wears New York Central paint to represent the heritage of Whitewater Valley Railroad's line. The original Whitewater Valley Railroad was completed between Cincinnati, Ohio and Hagerstown, Indiana in 1868 after the failure of the Whitewater Canal. The line was built on the towpath of the canal. In 1890, the Whitewater Valley was absorbed into the Cleveland, Cincinnati, Chicago, and St. Louis, better known as the Big Four. The Big Four eventually became part of the New York Central system in 1930. Shortly thereafter, the portion of the line from Hagerstown to just north of Connersville at Beeson's was abandoned. In 1968, due to financial problems, New York Central reluctantly merged with its arch-rival, the Pennsylvania Railroad, to form Penn Central. It was during Penn Central's existence that today's Whitewater Valley Railroad was born. It was 1972 when the not-for-profit organization was founded, although they didn't start operating regular trains until 1974. The Whitewater Valley leased 25 miles of the Penn Central track between Connersville and Brookville, Indiana. The service to Brookville didn't last long, however. A washout occurred in the same year between Brookville and the historic tourist attraction of Metamora. Penn Central decided to abandon 4 miles of track around the damaged right-of-way in 1976, and a few months later, the then-bankrupt railway was put into Conrail, a railroad formed by the Federal Railway Administration to try to preserve several dying railroads. The Whitewater Valley finally purchased the line between Connersville and Metamora from Conrail in 1983 and has owned it ever since. The train is approaching Whitewater Valley's yard on the south side of Connersville and will make a quick stop to service the journals on the boxcar. Afterwards, it will make its first photo run-by at the restored Rushville Depot, which was moved from Rushville, Indiana to Connersville a few years ago. We are in the restored Dearborn Tower, another acquisition of the Whitewater Valley Railroad. This control tower was moved from Lawrenceburg, Indiana in 2003.
Attention all crew, this is the Dearborn Tower photo stop. Everyone off who's getting off.
We're taking pictures of our train before we go on to the next stop. Yeah, that's the real thing.
Can they move, people? Everybody know if they can move?
Stop 39.
Oh boy. I've done it. Flip the switch.
Oh, it's okay. I already had half a cup.
One coach, easy.
Back to the train so we can take photos of it. It's going by an hour.
Look closely, and you'll see the train in the distance as it winds its way through the hills of southeastern Indiana. The railroad and canal remains aren't the only ones that wind their way through the hilly country. Indiana State Road 121 bends and curves through here as well, and even crosses the tracks twice between the towns of Knolltown and Alpine. The wind can be heard rushing over our microphone as the train nears the rural town of Laurel. The train will make a brief stop in Laurel before continuing to its next photo run-by location, the largest bridge on the line over the West Fork of the Whitewater River. As the train sits, we get to look inside the cab of 9339. The train has dropped off its passengers and cut the extra cabooses for the photo run-by over the Whitewater River. At one time, there would have been a canal aqueduct here that carried the boats over the river. After rearranging the consist at the siding just north of Metamora, the train backs into town. The historic grist mill and working canal boat, aqueduct, and lock are only a few of the tourist attractions in this town. The curvy back road of Dam Road, named after the Laurel Feeder Dam that feeds the canal, crosses the tracks a total of 5 times before coming to a dead end. This makes it a great road for train chasing, provided you're ready for a bumpy ride. As the train makes a stop in Laurel for lunch, we head up north to the Indianapolis subdivision of CSX, the former Baltimore and Ohio Hamilton sub, where we find eastbound train Q360 pulling out of the Pioneer Passing siding just west of Rushville, Indiana. We will chase this train back to Connorsville and then wait for the Caboose excursion to return to Grand Central Station. Notice the crates on the flat cars labeled DODX for Department of Defense. The safety placards indicate that the containers are carrying explosives. We've reached the northernmost portion of the Whitewater Valley's trackage as CSX Q360 goes over it in Connorsville. Just north of here begins the Connorsville-Newcastle Railroad, a short-line freight railroad that operates former New York Central and nickel plate trackage between here and Newcastle, Indiana. We wrap up our day back at Grand Central Station as the excursion pulls in to drop off its passengers and then heads back to the yard. This has been a special production by RailFanTube, and as always, thanks for watching.